When I have a new bass fisherman ask me of a way or a technique to catch fish, I share with them the shaky head. Guys, the shaky head has been catching bass for decades. And if you're a new bass fisherman or advanced bass fisherman, we're using the shaky head in ways to find and catch fish. And today, in this video on Bass Fishing Declassified, Randy Blockett, Miles Berghoff, and myself are going to dive deep into the shaky head.
Welcome back here to another edition of Bass Fishing Declassified, which by today is brought to you by Bridgeford Food Corporation, maker of the Bridgeford Sweet Baby Ray beef jerky. If you're looking for some great boat food, guys, this is it right here. You guys will absolutely love this stuff. It's available at all the checkout aisles at any Walmart across the country. And Bridgeford is a great supporter of bass fishing across the country. They make all the components for, or not all, but some of the components for our Army's MRE rations. Just a great company. You guys will love the Sweet Baby Ray jerky, so check it out. Anyway, guys, today we're going to be talking about shaky heads. I'm going to give you guys a little tutorial on fishing shaky heads in the summer. I'm going to talk about my favorite technique, favorite setup, and that type of stuff. So it's going to be some good info. Okay, first of all, a lot of people don't equate shaky head fishing with summertime fishing, but it can be super effective under the right conditions if you have the right setup. Now, to me, it's really bait specific. I've got one worm that by far I catch more fish on than any other shaky head worm that a lot of people don't use, and that's a Zoom Ultra Vibe speed worm here. Now, most people think when they're talking in terms of a shaky head is like a trick worm or some type of a finesse worm, a straight tailed. But guys, this Ultra Vibe speed worm right here will get you some good bites on a shaky head in the summertime. And I think a lot of it has to do with the tail action on it. This tail creates a lot of water displacement, vibration. It's a fairly large bait for a shaky head. And there's something about it when the fish in the summertime, when the water's hot, whatever it is about their mood and personality, I catch 5 times as many fish on the speed worm than I do just like a straight tail worm. So this is my bait selection. And I couple that up, guys. Another critical aspect of it is the head and the size. I use the 3/16 ounce. This is made by Davis Lures. This is my favorite shaky head right here. It's got a nice, like a 2 or 3/0 O'Shaughnessy bend hook in there. It's a fairly large bait by the time you get it. It's not like a finesse technique, but I'll just come in, probably about, 1/8 of an inch or so on the head and just work it traditionally. And I do, on my shaky heads, guys, I do not like the screw-ons, the screw-on type coils. I don't like that. All the top shaky head guys I know in the country like just the traditional keeper on there. And then I'll, come all the way through it, through the top like that, and then just bury the tip back, just barely back in it like that to where it's set up like that. So that's the simple setup. And most of the time I will add some chartreuse dye or maybe some orange dye, sort of make it look a little bit more like a bluegill fluttering down. But guys, when you cast it out there, like I said, the 3/16 ounce head on there allows you to cover some pretty deep water in a hurry, yet the tail on the Ultra Vibe speed worm slows it down, so you've got a nice fall to it. It creates a shaky head that displaces more water than a traditional shaky head does. And I think that's one of the big keys, is the combination of the worm profile, the water displacement and vibration created by the tail, and that 3/16 head on there is all critical. Now, most of the time I'm using it on anywhere between 8 to 10 pound test Seaguar and Vizex fluorocarbon line. I use straight fluorocarbon line on it, and I pair it up with a Megabass Oroshi whip snake spinning rod. That's my setup with it. And as far as the areas and techniques, the areas that you want to fish it, it's sort of unique to the type of lake that you're fishing. If you're on a typical man-made impoundment, points are just one of my favorite areas. I don't care if it's a main lake point or a secondary point. I'll get out there and I might graph around a little bit, sort of pay attention to where I'm seeing a lot of activity as far as that depth zone, and usually start targeting that particular area. Depending upon the water visibility, it's usually between, say, 10 to 25 foot deep in the summertime. If you've got water visibility of anything over like 2 foot in the lake you're fishing, you can pretty much guarantee that 10 to 25 foot is going to be the key depth on there on the bottom. And I'm also looking for some type of structure. It could be a little ledge, it could be a small drop off, some brush, maybe some rock, rough spot. That really helps out as well. Now, the second type of area that I like to fish the setup on is on boat docks. This thing works really, really good on boat docks. And it doesn't, since you're using the 3/16 ounce head on there, it doesn't skip very well on the spinning rod. So what I'll do in that situation is I stay with the same setup, but I put it on a different rod and reel outfit. I'll put it on usually like that Mega Bass Perfect Pitch bait cast rod. I'll put it on like 10 to 12 pound test straight Seaguar and Vizix line, and I'll simply pitch it and flip it around, the piers on the dock or around the floats or underneath the walkways. A lot of times there's brush around those docks. It can work really good. But boat docks and points are my two key areas with this. So anyway, guys, give it a try. Get you a bag of these Ultra Vibe speed worms, some of the Davis shaky heads, fish it on points and around docks, and it will get you some bites in the summertime. So thanks for tuning in. See you guys.
All right, everybody, so I love fishing a shaky head. It's one of my favorite finesse tactics, fish an 8 and 10 pound test with a small little compact, jig and straight tail worm combination. It's a great way to catch fish all around the country, but sometimes I want to fish a bigger bait for fish. Maybe I'm fishing a lake like Chickamauga that's known for bigger fish, and I know that if I'm using a larger bait, a lot of the time I will see bigger bites. And so I will take the same principle that you get with a small finesse style shaky head, and I will upsize that on some of these, big bass fisheries. So this right here is the Z-Man Mag Fatties. It is 7 inches. It's a wide body straight tail worm, lots of salt content. And then I paired that with a large shaky head. This is the Lead Shaker shaky head, and this is a really good combination to give fish something a little bit different. It's not quite a big worm on a Texas rig, because it still has that nice stand-up orientation to it as you're dragging it and hopping it on the bottom. It's just a really good way to cash in on larger size bites, and so this is actually a really good bait. If I'm fishing ledges, this is a great mop-up bait. If I've fished faster moving techniques, crankbaits, swim baits, spoons, if I want to still appeal to those large fish, but slow down a little bit, this bait right here gets the job done. So this is a really good one. And despite the name shaky head, I actually like just dragging these worms more than shaking them. I'll just cast them out there, and most of the time I'm fishing clean bottom, lots of shell beds and things like that, and I'm just gonna keep the rod tip high or to the side and just kind of drag it across the bottom. All right, so the tackle for this, very simple. You've got your worm, your jig head. Usually I like the 3/8 ounce or ½ ounce versions, and then I use 12 pound test fluorocarbon, usually Seaguar or Brazex for this, and then I'll use a 7.3 medium heavy all-purpose series rod, and then a 8.1 to 1 gear ratio VLD 10 from Fitzgerald. That is the setup, but it is just a really good way to get lots of bites, but also appeal to some bigger fish. So during the summertime, I love using a Mag shaky head.
Okay guys, those are some great tips that Miles and Randy just shared on the shaky head. Now before I get into my little talk about the shaky head, let me share with you a couple things. I've just started a podcast called Real Life in Fishing. If you're interested in wanting to listen to a new podcast, hey, check it out. I'll put the YouTube link down below, and it's also on Spotify and other podcast platforms as well. And then also, guys, remember that Fish the Moment is presenting this channel, and another way you can support the channel is going ahead and checking out our one-on-one virtual lessons. If you want to have a 1-hour Google Meet with me or anybody on the Fish the Moment team, go ahead and check it out, sign up for it, and you will not regret your 1 hour talking between me or anybody on the team. Now, guys, let's talk about these shaky heads. Now, people that know me, and if you watch the channel enough, you know I love the Magnum shaky head. I love the Magnum trick worm by Zoom. This right here is the finesse worm by Big Bite Baits. But I also will throw your more traditional style worms with the tails, the ribbon tails, okay? This is just the 6 cents Busa worm. I just took this one out of my boat. As you see, it's kind of beat up right here because we threw it the other night. Might have caught some fish with it, might not have. I don't know. I'm not going to share that footage because it was at dark. I actually didn't have cameras in the boat. So anyway, guys, I'm going to talk about more why I like the bigger style shaky heads and where I like to fish them right now, okay? Now, if you watch the channel enough and you know me, I love shell beds, but we're about to not talk about shell beds. We're going to talk about lowland, highland reservoirs with rock. One area right now I like to target is humps. okay? And with the humps, like I said, I like to target the humps with rocks, and a lot of lakes I fish have rock. And one reason why I like to throw this Magnum shaky head on it, okay, the Magnum style shaky head, is I can get it a little deeper, okay? I can get it deeper, I can feel them rocks. I'm trying to not just drag it, but I am reeling it very slow across these rocks. And the lakes that I fish, the fish love the big worms. Everybody's throwing the big worms. So I like to throw something a little different, okay? So I like to throw, as you just talked about, this is the Busa worm. I also throw the Zumo Monster. There's another worm, the B2 worm by Big Bite Baits. Like I said, I kind of stick with 3 worms right now. But this finesse worm here, as you see, this is a skinnier worm. It's an 8-inch worm. I love that Magnum trick worm that's thicker, but sometimes they might want a smaller little profile. This gives a little different action with it being skinnier. Like I said, this is more like that traditional style, you know, trick worm, but it's skinnier. It kind of moves around in the water, different than that Magnum trick worm by Zoom. So it's just kind of finding out what the fish want. Okay, colors. I keep it simple. As you see, I mean, this is the 6-cent shaky head. I probably should have talked about that earlier. I really just throw this. I mean, I have a couple other ones in the boat. They got black and green. Colors, guys, I don't really get too crazy and think about it. I'm not going to lie. Someone might think I'm bad for not doing that. But anyway, okay, guys, but just remember when you're fishing these, okay, I like to keep them moving. I'm going to drag them and I'm going to reel. And that's a big key to getting the bites. And it helps you feel the bites as well. But guys, if you want to try a new way to throw the shaky head, get your big Magnum style shaky heads like this 6-cent one. There's other ones out there. Miles' Secret Lures one is a great one. Okay, I've had a lot of good feedback with it. Heard a lot of people love it. There's a bunch of good ones out there. Guys, give it a shot. Let me know what you think. And hey, we'll see you on the next one.